So welcome everyone to a new session of INFAE's online quarter course on professional development. My name is Maria Soriano and I'm the Vice President of INFAE Foundation. And it is my great pleasure to welcome to our speaker today, Brenda Bernstein. Hi Brenda, thank you for being with us today. But before Brenda starts with the masterclass today, I want to give an update of what we are doing at INFAE. So in the next slide, you can see
I missed my cue there. There we go.
In the next slide, you can see that INFAE is currently recruiting the talent that will be part of the platform in the academic year 2020 and 21. This network will reunite more than 350 members in the fields of biomedicine, engineering, economics, entrepreneurship, and behavioral science, and will include top students and professors from INFAE's partner universities, the University of Valladolid, La Laguna, Europea Miguel de Cervantes, Oviedo, Politécnica de Valencia, Málaga, Sevilla, Aveiro, and Miño. And will also include highly qualified Spanish and Portuguese professionals working at the most prestigious international organizations in 5 continents, like Harvard, MIT, Google, the Karolinska Institute, just to name a few. Moreover, INFAE collaborates with companies and local governments, and all together they promote an international knowledge flow, collaborations, innovation, and career profiles of excellence. In the next slide, I want to show you that if you apply and you get selected to be part of this platform, you will have access to the following programs and initiatives. You will be able to connect with all this network of talent through the online communication platform INFAE Connects. You will also have the opportunity to participate in an idea competition and develop highly demanded skills and win seed grants, and even go through an accelerator program to attract investors. If you are selected to be part of the platform, you will have access to more online courses, one about innovation and another one about scientific careers. Also, if you are a professor, you will have training opportunities through the International Professional Development Program for University Professors. And if you are a student, you will be matched with an international mentors that will give you career support through the whole academic year. If you are one of the best students in the network, you can win one of INFAE's Excellence Fellowship to carry out a professional internship at the top international organization like Harvard or MIT. You will also have recruiting opportunities because there are companies that are really interested in the profiles of the people in our network. Also, if you are interested in science, we have a lot of initiatives where you can learn the latest scientific trends. And every year we organize an innovation camp where that reunites all the network, and we promote more networking, collaborations, and innovation. So now in the next slide, I want to tell you that if you would like to be part of this platform, the time for submitting applications is now. So you can go to our website and find there the open calls of the different universities that collaborate with INFAE. Also in your own universities, you have the call. Check the logo of your university. I highly recommend you to apply. The 100% of the participant students that fill out a survey, an anonymous survey last year, said that they would recommend this experience. So don't miss this opportunity. And now I just want, in the next slide, I just want you to remind you the requirements to get the diploma. This course is certified with 30 hours, but to get the diploma, you need to be a student or professor at one of INFAE's partner universities. You need to attend all the live online masterclasses. So please, after the masterclass today, fill out the exit survey so we can count your attendance. If you cannot watch the live masterclass, you can watch the recorded, that we will upload the link to the recorded in our website. And in this case, you will need to complete a visualization assessment. You have also to watch the video series and complete the practical exercises. As I said, everything and all the details about this course is in our website. You go to the section Infy courses and you will have all the information there. So you can request the diploma and send all the practical exercises, sending an email to qc@infy.org, and the deadline is December 29th. Okay, so now in the next slide is just time for the masterclass today. We are gonna talk about linking, and we have the best person to talk about linking. We have Brenda Bernstein. She is the founder and senior editor at the Assay Expert and best-selling author of How to Write a Killer LinkedIn Profile. A compelling speaker, award-winning businesswoman, and top certified resume writer. Brenda has worked with hundreds of professionals and executives who understand the value of an effective LinkedIn profile. Her book, now in its 14th edition, has been featured in Fortune and Forbes magazines and continues to be a go-to resource for professionals who want to get results on LinkedIn. So as you can see, it is amazing to count with Brenda today. So if during her presentation you have any questions, Brenda would be so kind to go over the questions at the end. And I highly recommend you to go to the websites, theassayexpert.com, theexecutiveexpert.com, and killerlinkedinprofile.com, and of course buying her book and following her on LinkedIn. And I think that she can teach you a lot of things about LinkedIn. And now the floor is yours, Brenda. Thank you again. It is a pleasure that you are our speaker in this masterclass.
Thanks so much, Maria. Pleasure to be here. Can you just remind me what time should I end for the questions? Are you still there? You're muted.
Sorry. You have around 45 minutes for the presentation, so we can have 10 minutes or so for the questions. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so welcome. You know, I've been talking about LinkedIn for many years, almost since it started becoming popular, maybe 11 years ago or so. And I've learned a lot as I've been coaching people and commenting on people's LinkedIn profiles. And of course, I put everything into a book, which I would love for all of you to experience as well. And today I'll share some of what I think would be valuable for you. So, you know, why would you want to be on LinkedIn in the first place? I have my 3 L's: locatability, likability, and aliveness. And I realized that aliveness doesn't really start with an L, but it has an L in it. And so I thought I would appropriate that for myself. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So usually I have a chart that is more geared toward the United States, but I thought this audience is probably mostly in Europe. So here we go. While obviously most of there are more LinkedIn users in the United States than in any other country, 70% of users are actually outside of the US. And you can see Spain is on here a little bit toward the bottom. I don't know if you can see my cursor here, but here's Spain with 13. These are all in millions. So 13 million users in Spain. And I was actually curious to know from your side, because I know in Europe, there's another platform called, I think it's called Xing or Zing. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Xing. And I'm curious to know if you could just type into the chat whether you're more familiar with LinkedIn or with Xing, or which one you use, because I know that they're both utilized for job search in Europe. we don't have that in the United States. So I'm just curious. And Maria, if you can tell me what people are typing in. You're on.
Everyone is saying that LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So we see here 64% of European countries are using LinkedIn for recruiting. So it makes sense that people would want to be on LinkedIn. And okay, so for some reason I have 2 slides. We did the why. Oh yes, we did the why. Okay. I need to get to know my own presentation here. So that's why you want to be on LinkedIn. You know, clearly companies are looking there for their new recruits. So here's my 3 L's. Locatability. How do you get found on LinkedIn in the first place? You know, you can have a LinkedIn profile, but if people aren't ever seeing it, it's not doing you much good. Then likability, and the importance of likability is, well, maybe you have a LinkedIn profile and they find you, but then will they be actually interested in learning more about you, and will they like what they see? And then finally, aliveness. So you can have a LinkedIn profile and it can look great, but if you're just sitting there and not doing anything with it, it's like when you buy that gym membership that you never use. This is, of course, when gyms were actually open, but I don't know what it is in Spain. We have a mix in this country of what's open and what's not, but LinkedIn is open. COVID has not shut down LinkedIn, thank God. So we have aliveness, and this is certainly one place that you can be as active as you want and as visible as you want. And you don't have to wear a mask about that. All right, so let's go through our first L, locatability. And the way that I have organized my book and the way I've organized the presentation is, you know, some of the mistakes that you might be making in this area so that you might not be doing the best job you can with being locatable. So the first thing that a lot of people do is they don't have enough keywords in their headline. And so here's a couple of examples that I saw from you. And thank you, everyone who generously volunteered to have me look at your LinkedIn profiles and include them in the presentation. So here's one on the left that has a lot of keywords: PhD, biology, energetics, metabolism, tumor cells. So if someone were looking for someone with any of these particular things, then this person would be more likely to be found. And it is a niche area, which is good, because that means there won't be like millions of people who have the same keywords. You know, something like project manager, there are going to be a lot of people who have that, but this really does narrow it down. Now there might be other keywords that could also, whoops, I didn't mean to do that, that could also be here. But these are good. And then on the other side, we have double Franco-Spanish master's degree in industrial engineering. Now this is good for industrial engineering, but what about other words that might help here? Like, and there were other things that were in the profile in other places, including design engineer, production engineer, project engineer, methods engineer, computer aided designer. So there are things missing here. And actually, even in the PhD in biology, when I looked through the profile, I saw some other things. So maybe someone wants someone who knows Western blot. I saw metabolomics, flux analysis, and 13C. So there might be more that could go even in the PhD in biology one. And then this third one, the PhD student, artificial intelligence researcher, there were a lot more things that could be up here if someone were looking for them. Machine learning, data science, big data. I mean, big data or data, I don't know how to pronounce it there, but that is a big keyword, and people are looking for people with skills in that area. So make sure that when you write your headline, and you do have 220 characters to use now. This is a change, a recent change that expanded the number of characters that you can use. It used to be 120. So some of you may have written your headlines when you thought you had less space. So now you have more space and you can use 220 characters. And when you have the keywords, then when a recruiter is looking or a hiring manager is looking, then they're more likely to find you. And then you want these keywords to show up in more places in your profile as well, not just your headline, because keyword density is also going to help you to be found. You also want keywords in your job titles. So we talked about keyword density. The headline's the biggest place for the keywords. The second most important place is the job titles. So we have here an example, production and manufacturing engineer. That's okay. Still, there are probably more keywords that could be added. Then we have on the other side, researcher. Researcher is not going to get you very far. What are you researching? What area? You know, because if someone's looking for a researcher in a particular field, they're going to be searching for a researcher and they're going to put in the type of field that they're looking for. And of course, PhD student without any subject area or anything is just not going to help you at all in the job title fields. So this is one of the things, it's one of the biggest mistakes that I see is people not utilizing this field to help them with their searchability and locatability on LinkedIn. Then when someone has a recruiting program and they can look at your skills and endorsements, then this is also helpful. In the skills, make sure that you put all of your skills in. Do all 50 if you can, and see if you can get some endorsements for them. This is something that when it first came out, you were always getting requests. LinkedIn would send out things about, can you endorse this person for this skill? They're not doing that so much anymore because people didn't like it. But still, recruiters will look and see, do they have 99 endorsements for this skill? So this is something you can do, I would say, with your classmates if you're a student, or people you graduated with, or people you work with. Start endorsing each other for the skills that you actually know that the other person has. So you'll see on the left, there's 10, 9, and 11 skills, endorsements for these skills. On the right, there are no endorsements for the first couple skills and only 3. So if you can at all, do start endorsing other people. They will probably endorse you back. And you're going to be choosing your top 3 skills to put in this section, and those might change over time. And so you might, again, someday need to do a little work to get endorsements for the skills that become more important as you grow in your careers. The next thing is, how many connections do you have? And, you know, I saw a range. I didn't copy any of these from you, but, you know, some of you have less than 500, some of you have the 500, but it's not that hard to build up to 500. And what people see when they look at your profile is the exact number of connections that you have until you hit 500, and then it says 500 plus. So you always want to have 500 plus. It doesn't mean that you want to connect with every single person who ever asks to connect with you, but it does mean to make an effort to connect and create a quality network. So you can reach out to friends and family, classmates, alumni, employers. If you're members of organizations, the people in these courses are probably really good connections for you. And you can join groups on LinkedIn and connect, excuse me, and connect with people in those groups. Here's just a little bit of a little instruction on how to find people in your school. You put the name of your school into the search bar. You're going to get a drop down. You click on the correct school that matches your alma mater, or even the school that you're in, and then you're going to be able to click on alumni, and then you'll get to see a lot of information about the alumni. So you see where they live and where they work. And then you also can, when you click on one of those, then you get to see the actual people and you can connect with them. And alumni love connecting with other alumni. I mean, if you think about yourself and where you graduated from, I'm sure you're excited about connecting with other people who went to your school. So definitely use that feature. Okay, so now we have locatability, mistake number 4. And I know a lot of you have questions about whether it's worth it to get LinkedIn Premium. I'm not sure of the cost in Europe, if it's the same. I know it's 30 around or $29.99 in US dollars. And it might be worth it for you. You can start with a free trial. It's always good when you're ready to start with a free trial. I would say start it after you have your LinkedIn as optimized as you possibly can. And then try the premium features. So we'll take a little bit of a look at what those are. And that you would be getting the LinkedIn Career Premium most likely if you are looking for a position. Sorry, this is a little bit small, but it makes it easier to connect with hiring managers through in-mail messages. Hiring managers are more likely to read the messages that they get through in-mail. The nice thing about in-mail is that when you send it or receive it, you know, the person receiving the message can actually see the entire message. This is something that LinkedIn did, I don't know how long ago now, but it used to be that you could see the message in your email regardless. Then they changed it so you can only see the actual message that someone writes when it's an in-mail. Otherwise, you just see you got a message and then you have to click on it to go to LinkedIn and find out what that message is. And not everyone's going to do that, but most people will read the message when it's in their inbox in its full in text. So that's why sending in-mail messages can be a good idea, and having more of those to send at your disposal to send will be advantageous to you as you're wanting to connect with recruiters and hiring managers. With the premium, you're able to see who has viewed your profile, and that can be very valuable. If you get this feed, if you do sign up for premium, use this. Find out who looked at you, and then you can follow up with them. That will be very advantageous for you. And then you can find out why they were looking at your profile, and maybe why they didn't contact you after they looked at your profile as well. All right, now we are on to likability. So here's someone who has a lovely photo. And actually, I was impressed with a lot of your photos. I will tell you, the ones that I looked at, a lot of you had very nice headshots. And a lot of you actually had very nice background images too. We'll look at some of those. But this is now the default background image that you'll see on LinkedIn. And I would recommend, while this is a little bit nicer looking than the old one, which just had some it was like a blue background with a constellation, like a network symbol. It's still not ideal for you to have just this blank background, and it doesn't show that you are really putting effort into your image on LinkedIn. So here's a different option. I like this. Make big plans, hope and work. I mean, it shows some personality. I like this. Now, the danger in having words in this background image is that once you get onto mobile, and I didn't actually take a screenshot of this profile on mobile, but the image is going to move right into the middle of the background image. So the headshot is going to be right in the middle, and it's going to cover up some of these words. So always just look and see what does your profile look like on a mobile device, on different platforms, before you just decide and land on a final background image, because that could be an issue if you have a lot of words in the background. You'll also see that this person chose the open to work symbol, which is something that you can put on your profile. That's something that it's a personal choice. It may or may not help you to get work. A lot of people are using it. Some recruiters prefer to find candidates who are not advertising that they're open to work. And if you have the career premium, then you have other less obvious ways of telling people. However, the nice thing about this is that your friends will see it, and people you know will see it, and they might know of opportunities for you. And so this can sort of spark them to think, oh, well, maybe I can think about what I know and how I can help. So there are some pros and cons, which I have covered also in my book, and I have an article also that I wrote recently about the open to work feature and whether, you know, the pros and cons of using that. Here's another cool background that I liked. So you can have fun with this. Okay, the next mistake in likability. Sorry, my computer is doing something. Get back to, okay. And this is not, just to be clear, this is not a mistake that this person actually made. I'm just explaining to you. So let's say you want to connect with Belen. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. But if you want to connect with someone and you're on your phone, this is on a mobile phone. If you hit the connect button, it's going to send out a standard message that is not personalized to this person. So you don't want to do that. It's easy on the desktop version. If you're on your computer or your laptop and you're connecting with people, it's always going to give you an option to add a note to your invitation. But on your phone, it's really tricky. I don't know why they do it this way, and I hope they fix it someday, but it's been like this for years. That if you hit connect, a standard message goes out that says, you know, please join my network on LinkedIn, basically something like that. So instead, when you're on your phone, you need to really, really work hard to train your fingers and train your brain to hit the more button. And if you hit more, then you get this option to share. Oh, I'm sorry, I circled the wrong thing. To not to share via a private message. You could do that. You could share the profile with someone, but it's actually the the fourth one down, personalized invite, that is the actual right one that I should have circled. Sorry, I fixed this from the last slide, and some of the locations of things changed. So you want to personalize the invite. Okay, so it's the fourth one down, personalize invite. And when you personalize the invite or click on personalize the invite, then you can write an individual message to the person. And people really like to hear from you with a personal invitation. And I'm going to invite all of you to practice this with me, and find me on LinkedIn, Brenda Bernstein, and send me a personalized invite. And even if you're on your phone, do it from your phone, and make sure you do not hit the connect button and that you hit the more button instead. So it's very difficult. It's difficult for me, and I make the mistake sometimes as well. Okay. This is what it looks like on the desktop version. So you can add a note, and it's pretty easy to do that. Okay, so the next thing in likability is, how are you presenting yourself? What are you writing about yourself in your summary section? And the opportunities here are to talk about really who you are and what makes you tick. A little bit about your background, you want to have what we call a unique selling proposition, what makes you unique, and then also a call to action at the end. Who do you want to meet? Why are you on here? And you can tell people what you're up to on LinkedIn. You want to sound pretty conversational and human, as if you're speaking with someone at a networking event. You have 2,000 characters. Oh, I didn't change this slide either. You now have 2,600 characters to use. My apologies. Wow, I updated so many slides and I missed this one. So 2,600 characters you actually have to use. And I would recommend making little sections and using little subheaders so that it's interesting if you do use all of those characters, because otherwise it's just going to be a whole bunch of text and people aren't going to want to read it. Some things that you can think about when you're writing your summary is, and you could even have a conversation with someone about this. And if you're taking this course with someone and you have like a buddy or a friend, do this with them. Think about 3 peak moments in your life and just talk about them or write them down. And you'll start to see that there are some commonalities that show really what excites you and motivates you. And those are some things that you can write about. And you want to pick some peak moments that are related to your career. What's your ideal day at work? What is it that you really want people to understand about you, that if they did not understand this about you, they would not understand you at all? So what is that thing? And you can get that across on LinkedIn, and it's not going to be the same as everyone else's. Some of your experience can be the same as everyone else's, but these other things are what make you unique. You can look at other people's profiles and see what you like, and you can model after those. Do not copy them, do not plagiarize, but you can get ideas and inspiration from other people's profiles that you like. One of the things that I have learned, and you're all some of you are probably neuroscientists or have learned about neuroscience, is that the impression that we get from people really carries forward into the future. There's an experiment where a group of students is told what a professor is going to be like before they come into the room, and half of them are told that, yeah, it's a good professor, but this professor is a little bit cold. And then the other group is told, oh, wonderful professor, so warm and inviting. And then they all go into the same classroom. And of course, the people who were told that the professor was cold said after the class that the professor was cold. And the people who came in expecting the professor to be warm came away thinking the professor was warm. This is a little scary, but I always think about this when I teach people about LinkedIn, and even a resume, because the impression that you create on your LinkedIn profile is going to inform the way that they experience you when you actually go in for your interview or your virtual interview or whatever it is nowadays. So you want to set them up to have the impression of you that you want them to have. And that is the opportunity of the summary section, especially and also I would say, the photo and the background, the summary, all of that together really creates an image for yourself. It's your opportunity to create an image for yourself that, because of the way the human brain works, it's going to carry through into your interview and possibly into your actual employment. So this is a really important section. So here are some examples. This is a dentist who's passionate about dentistry, hard worker, great organization and discipline, fast learning. So, all of this is good. I feel like there could be a little bit more, maybe there's a little bit of a story, but, this does give some indication. I like that she shares about her Spanish, English, and Persian, and that might attract certain people who speak Spanish, English, and Persian. I imagine that Persian is the one that would distinguish her the most. And we see always involved in projects, objective of learning and improving. So she did a nice job of expressing a little bit about who she is. And I think after sort of asking some of the questions that I suggested, there might be even more that she wants to say, and to really engage the reader, because these are little sentence fragments and people might read them, but there's also a way that you can write to really get people's attention right away when you're expressing yourself. So here's one that I kind of liked. He also says passion. Passion is a little bit overused in some places, but I don't know if you can overuse it in Spain. So yes, this is my objective and my passion, to be involved in innovative international projects available at top organizations all over the world, to share ideas and projects with the most talented people. Now, this person has got my attention. He's really, really expressing who he is and what he wants, and and if I'm at a top organization, I'm like, oh, he might be talking to me. Especially if my organization has international projects available. He sounds very passionate and excited. And, organizations like to have people who clearly show their enthusiasm about the work. And then he does talk a little bit about his background and jobs that he's held, his volunteer work. And we say, together with my persistence and collaborative spirit, all of these have led me to bump into and accept career challenges that took me out of my comfort zone, but give me considerable professional and personal rewards. This says a lot about who this person is. So this is one that, if you like it, see what it is for you, and how you can express something about yourself that is this passionate and personable. Okay, so the next mistake, or the next of the 3 L's, is aliveness. And one of the ways to stay alive on LinkedIn is to post things that you have, maybe it's a new presentation or study that you were involved in, an article that is relevant to your field that you think would interest your connections, and then also to comment on other people's postings, because people like it when they know that you're watching them, and not just to like them, but also make a comment on them. And the important thing about this as well is that recruiters will be able to see this, and they will judge you on how active you are on LinkedIn and how much of a net giver you are. How much are you contributing to the community and to others? So they do look at this. They want to see that there's something recent that you've posted, that you're engaged and active, and also, contributing to your community. The other is the special sections on LinkedIn, which I put it under aliveness because the information in here can be ever changing. You have, let's see here, skills, accomplishments, and additional information, and then we have languages. So we're going to go a little more into some of the other special sections here, because you have, here we have the license and certifications. Publications is also under here. So anytime you have a new publication, you want to make sure that you stay alive and you go on LinkedIn and you post it. Anytime you get a degree, you want to add it to LinkedIn. Anytime you get a certification, same thing. So make sure that you're always updating LinkedIn, and also, of course, your experience as well, and keep it current. What I want to talk about now is the so here I have some examples of the publications. So someone who did well with this. There's a limited view for publications where you just see the titles, and then when you click on one, then you get to see the entire blurb that this person wrote. And this one's doing well. It's July 4th, 2020. It's pretty recent. And then we also have someone who got a certification in big data just in September 2020. So all of these are good examples of using these special sections well. And then we have one of the issues is also for people who speak multiple languages. You want to make sure that you have a secondary language profile. So here's where it is, and I think it was in back here under add profile section. We have this supported. We have the supported languages down at the bottom here, and I think yeah, so you'll see also on the left, supported languages. When you click on it, it says add profile in another language. So this is all under the add profile section button, which you're going to find right under your name on your profile. If any of you are sort of looking at your profiles right now, I'm sure you will see this add profile section button. So here are some of the languages that are supported, and you can create a profile in this other language. And when you do that, as you can see here, LinkedIn will match the viewer's language. So the person who's looking at your profile, they'll match their language to your available language profile. Otherwise, so if I'm looking for your profile, I'm going to get the English version. If someone in Spain who speaks Spanish is looking for your profile, they're going to get the Spanish version. And I did get some profiles when I looked at them in Spanish. So I know that some of you don't have a secondary English profile, and all of you can speak English, I imagine, because you're listening to this presentation, and I hope you're understanding it. Okay. Then there are job search functions on LinkedIn as well. So make sure that you create job alerts so that when there are new jobs in your area, you get notified about them. And here are some. I just did a search on industrial engineer in Madrid, and here's some of what came up. And then you can create alerts for yourself for whatever the position is that you want. You can have them every day. Finally, the last part of aliveness. One of the big mistakes, and I know this is tough during COVID, but keeping it online is a mistake, because if you're only talking to people on LinkedIn and you're not getting out and getting into community and meeting for coffee dates, then you're not getting the full value of LinkedIn. And a lot of what I have done, and even the way that I've become the speaker that I am and all of that, has been through meeting people. And when I'm in a different state in the United States, like if I've traveled to Texas, and when I traveled to Texas, I made sure to have coffee with someone in Texas. And one of those people turned out to send me many clients over the years and provide me with speaking opportunities for hundreds of people. And all of that would not have happened if I hadn't met him in person. With COVID, certainly have different challenges, but you can still set up a Zoom coffee meeting with someone who looks interesting and who you'd like to get to know. And people, I believe, will still be open to that, because that's the world that we're all living in. And if you do have, we were talking about this on a call yesterday, a lot of the restaurants here are creating greenhouses and igloos and heated tents and other outdoor spaces where some of the people in my group are still going, even in the colder weather, they're still going and meeting outside for coffee dates at actual restaurants. So I don't even know how cold it is there. I know, Maria, you're in Sweden, so it's definitely cold there. But yeah, so find ways to connect with people one-on-one in a real way and have a conversation and get to know them and what they're about. See how you can help them. see if there's advice that they can give you. People love giving advice and helping people out. This is not to say go and ask everyone, do you have a job for me? That's not the way to go about networking. But you can talk to them and say, hey, I'd love your advice about what should I be doing now? Because this is the type of job that I want. And do you have any suggestions for me? People are pretty responsive to that kind of inquiry. So let's see. Okay. We're just about at Q&A. I did want to let you know about my ebook. Probably have already figured out I have an ebook. And you're all definitely encouraged to either purchase the book, or if you want to sign up for my e-list, you can do that at the link here. And then you'll get a free excerpt of the book. And I do have full service writing services also that I offer. If anyone, actually wants to get help with a resume or help with writing your LinkedIn profile, but all of that's on my website. But I think a really good place to start is reading the book, because I know all of you are smart and great students and can probably implement a lot of the suggestions both from this presentation and from the book, and really write yourself a killer LinkedIn profile.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. It was fantastic, the presentation. I'm sure we all have learned a lot of tips about LinkedIn. And if it's okay with you, we can go over the questions. There's a lot of questions, 15 so far. So let's see how many we can cover.
Okay.
So Hector is.
Or do people still want my information up here?
Sure. Perfect. So Hector is asking, how useful is LinkedIn for funding profiles of social science researchers? This is very specific, but yeah.
You know what, I don't know the specific answer to that question, but I think more and more everyone is getting on LinkedIn. And so I would say create your profile. If you're ahead of the game and someone's looking for a social science researcher and you have a great profile that highlights all of your social science experience and is specific about what you do, if someone is looking for you on LinkedIn, they will find you. And so it's worth putting the effort in. Now, I would never say to use LinkedIn as for anyone. I wouldn't say use LinkedIn as your only way of being found for a position. You still need to, and so also I would, before I say that, look on LinkedIn, see how many positions are being posted for social science researchers. I didn't do that search, but you can do that search on the job search function. If people are looking for a social science researcher and there are jobs posted for it, that's a good sign for you that LinkedIn is a good place to be if you're a social science researcher. And you want to be looking for jobs, not just on LinkedIn, but in any other publications or job boards that you know are valuable for your field.
Yeah.
And you always want to be networking, because networking is always the best way to get a job.
Yeah. Marta, Marta, if you work in the public scientific research field, is worth building a personal brand in LinkedIn by creating content? Thanks.
Yes, I would say content is always looked upon favorably by any recruiter, anyone who goes and looks and sees, oh, who is this person? Even if you apply through a different channel, right? If you apply through a friend or a list in your school publication, or however you apply, someone's going to look at your LinkedIn profile. They're going to look you up and see, who is this person? So it's always worth building your brand and sharing what you can share on LinkedIn, because it's actually a much more robust platform than a resume. you know, on a resume, yeah, you could put a link to something, but on LinkedIn, everything is right there. So yes, absolutely, create content and put it up there. It can only help you.
Yeah, totally. Fernando, is it recommended that your photo and your background have the same theme?
I think it's a personal preference. You want it to look good. I mean, your photo doesn't necessarily have a theme. Your photo can have a plain background. So if you have something in the background, like a lab, if you work in a lab or something like that, or then I don't know. I don't think there's a definitive answer to that question. But there are certain things that make a good headshot, and I would concentrate on having a good headshot and having your head and shoulders take up most of the frame, and having a clear background or something fairly simple. You have to be careful about having a busy background when you have a headshot. So I understand, if you're a lab researcher, you might want a lab in the background, even on your headshot, but you don't have to. You could have a plain background on your headshot and a lab for the background shot, or background image.
Right. Pablo I would like to work almost 100% remotely for an American company. Is there anything I can do to be more attractive specifically to them?
Well, that first of all, there are, of course, immigration questions about that, right? So I don't know if you'd have to have the papers to work for an American company, probably as an employee. If you're going to be an employee, maybe I don't know all of the ins and outs of that. But to be a full-time employee, you would still need to have certain credentials, I think, to do that. There might be looser credentials for subcontracting workers or something like that. So you'd have to certainly look into that. And I'm not an expert in that area. In terms of finding a job, for anyone who wants to work remotely, I mean, even someone in the United States looking to work remotely, like in a different state or something like that, I think it's becoming more and more possible to do that. So I would say it's probably a better bet to look for a multinational company who has some headquarters possibly in Europe. Might be a faster route to getting a remote position. But certainly a lot of companies have transitioned even in-person people into remote people now. So I'd say the same principles apply, whether you're looking for a remote position or an in-person position. Start connecting with people and getting to know them and seeing what might be available and what their procedures and protocols are. There's definitely some research to do in terms of the legalities that companies in this country face when they're hiring for people abroad. I think when you're a scientist, it makes it somewhat easier, especially if you have a niche, because there are definitely exceptions to a lot of the immigration policy here and working policy for people who have very highly unique skills. So if that's you, then you have more of an opportunity here. Otherwise, you can say that you can write in your profile that you're looking to work remotely for an American-based company, and you can see how that works. The nice thing about LinkedIn too is you can change things. If you try something for a few months and it doesn't work, then you can change it. But the other danger of saying that in your profile is if you put yourself out there as wanting to work for an American company, then you might turn off some companies that are not American. So, you have to juggle and balance a lot of different factors.
Yeah, I think that maybe he can also go to the companies he may be interested and follow the companies, the US companies that he's interested, and then maybe he can contact with some of the employees and ask if there is any possibility to on how can he do it being a foreigner to work remotely in the company. I mean, you have to, you can find ways to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and always networking and talking with people. And you brought up something, I just didn't put this in this presentation because I had to narrow things down, but following companies is a really good thing to do. If there's a company that interests you, do find their LinkedIn page, the company page, and follow the company. And sometimes you'll be able to engage in some conversations. So really, if you follow them, watch what they're posting and comment on it, because not a lot of people do that. And you will make yourself stand out if you actually engage with the content that the company is posting.
Yep. Carol is asking, hello, thanks for sharing the knowledge. I didn't understand the explanation about how to have 2 different languages profiles. Could you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, well, first you can, I do have an article about it, so you can look that up on my blog. And so you're going to go to the add a profile section, and at the bottom it says supported languages. And when you click on that, then it gives you the opportunity to create the profile in the second language. But I would say, do a quick Google search. Look, you can search on LinkedIn. So anything you have a question about, like how do I do this, you can search on LinkedIn. You can do a Google search. There's a good chance that it's in my book. All of this is in my book or on my blog.
Right. But in the case of the languages, you have to translate yourself to the 2 languages. I mean, you have to make the 2 profiles from the scratch in the 2 languages, or there's a kind of automatically translation or something?
Some parts of it will be translated and other parts you'll need to write yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. The problem I have with LinkedIn is that most of my contacts are not active. Perhaps if the platform will mobilize an interaction more, it could be something more attractive. I don't know, my contacts are very active. I cannot keep up with all my contacts news. So I don't know if it's something specific.
Well, it sounds like that's a suggestion for LinkedIn. I don't work for LinkedIn. I didn't make that clear, but I don't work for LinkedIn. But if you have it sounded like a suggestion for LinkedIn. Is that what, did I hear that properly?
Yeah, I think so.
And I would say make new connections. Yeah. Some of the people who are taking this course, might be good connections. You need to always be making new connections. So if all of your connections are not active, then that might say something about how active you've been in building your network. Because if you have 500, 1,000 connections, the chances of all of them being inactive are pretty small. You're going to have a bunch of people who are posting things and that you can interact with. Or you can, buy my book for them, give it to them as a gift.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll get them moving a little bit. But yeah, if you have a suggestion for LinkedIn, then you can go to LinkedIn help and just submit a suggestion.
Said is asking, are we always be formal in LinkedIn?
I didn't understand the question.
Is that I think that he's trying to ask if it's always to show yourself that you are very formal. I think that in the summary you can express yourself, no? Like this guy you saw, that was very enthusiastic. You have a little chance not to show your personality, right, Brenda?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you're a very formal person, be formal.
Yeah.
If you're a playful person, be playful. I mean, I have, and probably your field, what fields you're in, will also dictate that to a certain extent. If you're in accounting, you might not be like over the top, yeah, I don't know. But if you're in a field that allows for it, yeah, I mean, definitely express your personality. Your whatever field you're in probably matches your personality. I hope it does. So yes, I had one person who was in marketing who talked about as a kid who he always wanted to be the American football, she wanted to be an American football player, and to be a quarterback, and then at some point she realized that she had to leave that to the famous quarterbacks in Wisconsin. And there's like this big name, Brett Favre, who, everyone knows the name in Wisconsin. And so it was very playful. And when you're in marketing, that's nice to tell a story that people laugh at, because then they're like, oh, this person's probably good at marketing, and putting out messages.
Yeah, and I think the good thing of LinkedIn is that this gives you this opportunity to be a little bit more like you are than a resume, that it has to be more to the point. So I think that it's good to take the features that can you can be more yourself, like the picture, the summary, and this can transmit to the recruiter more things. And
yes, definitely.
Okay. Oh, there's every time there's more questions. Okay. 5 more minutes and we go. When we create a good LinkedIn profile, updated and everything, it's not gonna be useful only when we connect our profile to people or facilitates that, or facilities that may be interested in our jobs. Or just by creating a good LinkedIn profile, we start receiving offers because this is how its algorithm works. Should I repeat the question?
No, I understand. I would say you need to do both. So sometimes you'll probably start getting more views of your profile just by changing the profile. However, the algorithm also wants you to remain active. So you want to be logging in every day, and you want to be posting things and commenting on things. No one except for LinkedIn actually knows exactly how the algorithm works. However, there is some evidence that being active will help you get to the top of searches. You want to have a larger network will help you as well to get to the top of searches. This is another thing I didn't really explain, but if you have only 100 connections and someone searches for someone, and you have all the right keywords in your profile, and you only have 100 connections, you're not going to actually get to the top of searches, because it sorts things partially by how closely connected you are in the network. So it's going to show first-degree connections, second-degree connections, maybe third-degree connections. People who don't have a premium profile will only get 100 matches, and you might not make the top 100 if you don't have a big network. So that's part of it. You always want to be connecting with people, and the more people's networks get bigger and bigger, the more you have to compete with the bigger and bigger networks. There are a lot of people who have like 20,000 connections on LinkedIn. So you can't have too big a network unless, you can't have too big a network as long as it's a quality network. And having that big network will help you. Staying active and posting things will help you for sure. And you might get a change. You'll probably get a change in how many people are viewing your profile just by implementing the changes that I suggested. But it's not the whole story.
Yeah. Is it fine to start adding people in LinkedIn without personally knowing them, just to grow your network?
It is. Of course, LinkedIn says, and for a long time, they were really saying, don't have anyone in your network who you don't know. But as long as you know the person is legitimate, it's fine to connect with people. If you haven't met them personally or had a personal conversation with them, you just want to make sure that they're quality people, that they're real, that they're not a fake profile. Hopefully that there's someone in your field, because you're going to get the best leverage out of the people, out of having connections with people who are in your field. And it's always a nice idea to have a little conversation with anyone that you connect with or who asks to connect with you. If you just accept the invitation and it doesn't go any further than that, it's not going to be as valuable, especially if it's someone who would be a valuable connection to you for real. It would be much better for you to have a little conversation or exchange with them, or meet for a Zoom date or something like that.
Okay, if you work into completely different ambits, should you have two different profiles or mix them together?
You can only have one profile, other than the different languages. You can have the same profile in different languages, but you cannot have more than one profile. And you could actually get completely booted out of LinkedIn if LinkedIn discovers that you have two profiles. So you do need to find a way to combine them, and that can be a little bit tricky sometimes.
Okay. Is it useful to use the section grades? Do recruiters really look at them?
If you have good grades that are worth posting and sharing with the world, why not? You don't have to. I don't think it's going to be the thing that makes the difference for you. But you can't, I mean, it's a personal choice again, if you feel comfortable sharing that information or if you don't. But if you do have very high grades, it could help you out.
Yeah. Regarding to the personal photo, what do you think of the traditional graduation? What do you think of the traditional graduation picture that many of us have? Do you think it's appropriate?
Yeah, I think at this point in your career, if you graduated recently, then that can definitely be appropriate. I would prefer the one not with the hat on your head, because you don't want to sort of cover up anything. So if you have one that does not have your hat, I would choose that over the one with the hat. But I've certainly seen good pictures, with the hat on as well. So yeah, those should be fine for you. You don't have to invest a lot of money into getting a new headshot if you have very good pictures of yourself from your graduation.
And now, I mean, there's some more questions, but let's just finish with a question that I have. So if you have two identical, more or less identical profiles with the same expertise, more than 500 connections, blah, 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 if you were a recruiter, which one would you choose if based on the features that they have highlighted in LinkedIn? For example, you will choose the one that has some references, or the one that has more endorsement, because I think that these are really important parts of LinkedIn, the reference and the endorsements, because they really people can trust in you. I mean, it projects that you are a trustful professional because there's people that endorse you, right? What do you think?
Yes, and the personal recommendations are more valuable than just someone who clicked on a skill and endorsed you. Although someone who has 99 plus endorsements for a skill over someone who has 0, there was certainly, or who has 3, that would definitely be something that would persuade me. But even more than that would be if people took the time to write something for the person that shows, so if I actually request recommendations sometimes from people, And that's actually a positive thing, right? So a recruiter might go, okay, this person really went after recommendations because they wanted their profile to look good. And so there's that side. And there's also, oh, this is a person where people are so excited about that they went and wrote recommendations and took their time to do that. So yes, that makes a difference. And recruiters also look to see if you've given recommendations. So that's something people don't necessarily think about, but I mentioned before the concept of being a net giver, someone who really wants to make a difference and a contribution. And so giving recommendations is very, very appealing when recruiters are looking at your activity on LinkedIn. And, you know, if you gave one in 2012, and this might not apply to this group, but, you know, there's some more senior executives who look at their profiles and, oh, they gave a recommendation 10 years ago, or they received a recommendation 10 years ago, or they received 10 years ago, and now they haven't gotten any in the last 2 years. So also look at when those recommendations were given.
Okay, so we encourage all of you to ask for recommendation and give recommendations. This can be also very important aspects in your profile. And I think that, I mean, we will love to stay with you here more time, Brenda, but I'm sure that you have a lot of things to do. So it was amazing, the discussion, the presentation, to having you here today with us. I hope you enjoy it as well.
I definitely did. I could tell very engaged, even though I can't see you, I can tell you're very engaged and active and eager to learn. So I hope this has been helpful for you.
We have had almost 200 attendees, so it has been a total success, the masterclass. And I hope everyone see you in the next masterclass next week. Have a great day, and thank you again, Brenda.
Thank you.